Welcome to Behind the Scenes. And today we are talking with Leslie Kuster, author of Seven Keys to Seven Figures. Leslie, thank you for being here. Would you introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you so much. So happy to be here. So I'm Leslie Kuster, the author of the book Seven Keys for Seven Figures, The Women Entrepreneur's Guide to Money and Freedom. I'm also the CEO and founder of Back from Bali, which is my women's clothing business, where I manufacture in Indonesia and import and sell all online. And because of the business and the experiences of the business, that I wrote this book for other women entrepreneurs.
And one of the things I want to dive into in this interview is your writing process and you as the writer at work. So let's start with the most obvious question. What is your writing process?
Well, I never really was an author before that. I'm a brand new author. So this is the first book that I've ever published. But I've been a writer for a really long time, but a private writer. I have, probably, I don't know, 40 journals or something like that, where I would just, write my emotions and my thoughts and everything. And I always knew or always wanted to write a book. I remember being 17 and wanting to write not a novel, but some kind of memoir or something. Um, so those journals that I wrote in and luckily kept became part of my writing process, because I wanted to bring a lot of personal stories and a lot of difficult emotions that I had during my life, or feelings of failure, feelings of not making it, or feelings of losses, experiences of losses that I've had. And because I had already written everything in these journals, I was able to go back to all those journals, like literally spread them out, on the floor and then take a yellow highlighter and then going and highlighting things that I thought I could pull from either experiences or literally quotes that I had written and add that to the book. So that was one of the processes that I started.
Okay, now you are going through and highlighting written text from your own journals. Did you find it more comfortable working analog, or were you able to integrate digital processes as a writer?
Yeah, so basically the first step was collecting everything. And I had written the journals, which was, physical journals, but I had also written a lot that was stored on my computer, little articles that I had written, I've given some workshops already. Those were written up. Other thoughts were written up. So I had quite a bit of ideas written up already that was already stored on my computer. So I had the journals, I had the already written information, and I started to basically collect everything and that I already had written, and that was the basis, almost the research. And of my own work. But the third thing that I did is I did something that a lot of writers are told, or I heard not to do, and it was actually advised from my brother Eric, who's a writer, which is to read other people's work that's similar to the genre that I was writing. So I went and did that, and I would read, maybe five, six, seven, eight different business books at the same time, and I was then able to get the page numbers from those books because I thought they would make great quotes that I could basically pull into my book. So this was sort of like the research or the, collecting information stage. The other thing I did also is I interviewed some women entrepreneurs too. I'm a member of a Facebook group, a private Facebook group for e-commerce e-commerce people, and then I would basically DM a lot of just the women because I just wanted to interview the women, and I set up interviews as well. So I collected that way too.
Now, I love the deep variety of collection you did, This is essentially the research that went into your book. But once you have this big mass of research, what's your process for organizing it and creating that outline?
Yeah, absolutely. Luckily, somehow or another, as these things work in life, I was referred to this woman named Christine Carlson, who is a writer, and she's behind the brand, her and her late husband, Don't Sweat the Small Stuff, which is pretty famous. And I was first referred to her as her being actually a influencer for my clothing brand, because she is well known and she's like the appropriate age that I kind of wanted someone to wear my clothes, model my clothes, and all that. So in connecting with her, we had a great conversation, and then she said, "Oh, just want to tell you other things I'm doing. I have a program called Book Doulas. It is a writing course teaching potential writers or writer potential authors how to write a book." And I was like, "You're kidding." And I said, "I'm signing up." And I did. So this is what I did. And this is, I think, essential. And if I hadn't done this, nothing would have happened. And in fact, I did sign up for it and still nothing happened because because I got busy with my business and I was in Indonesia during the time that this book course was going on. And with the time difference between California and Indonesia, I couldn't make the sessions. And so it went to the wayside. And a few months later, Christine reached out to me again and said, "I know you couldn't complete the course, and I would like to gift you the course. We're starting a new one in April. It's April 2020, COVID." And I had tears in my eyes because I felt so sad that I hadn't started the book, and I joined the course, and that was it. They taught, outline and just how to. I would write chapters, I would share it with the group, I would share it with them, I would get feedback. And that is how I actually wrote the book. That's when the actual writing started to happen.
Tell us more about this feedback. How did you work with I'm going to call them beta readers, but the people who gave you feedback?
Yeah, we had a very small group of women. I think there was maybe 7 of us all together. It was really small. So I did get feedback from them, but the 2 people that really gave me the feedback was Christine Carlson and Deborah Evans. They were the team that ran Book Doulas, and they're still running Book Doulas as well. So the feedback was very positive. I was a little surprised, to tell you the truth, by how positive the feedback was immediately, because I'm completely new at this. So I have to tell you, the feedback was very, very positive. I would sometimes question how honest I should go or how deep I should go. As I mentioned, I put in difficult experiences like being with a friend who drowned, and I didn't drown, and I didn't know if I should put these things in it, or if it just didn't fit in a business book. And they really encouraged me. Uh, Absolutely, that should be in it. So those was more the kind of feedback I was getting from them rather than anything else as to, it's not clear, or I don't like this.
Mhm.
That was more the feedback I was getting.
Okay, and I suppose you had editors who did that for you.
Exactly. So
Okay.
once the book was written, or I graduated from that course, and I think I went into their next level of the course. And then I wanted to be serious. I really wanted this book published. I wanted it written. So we went into a contract together, Deborah Evans and Christine Carlson and myself, where they would actually become my official editors of this book. And Deborah Evans in particular is who I would work with on a weekly basis. We would Zoom with each other weekly. I would write a chapter and send it to her. So I didn't wait for the whole thing to be finished and send it. And then she would give me feedback, obviously spelling, grammar. She would take sentences, make them much better than I was. She would sometimes give suggestions suggestions such as have you considered looking into, I don't know, Japanese mindset? I'm actually making that up, but something, like that, because that might fit into this chapter a little bit more, or expanding a little bit more on this idea. And then I would do that and redo it and send it back. But each version, we call them versions, chapter one version, etc. version, I never went more than, I would say average versions went 2 to 3 versions. So they were not that much. I think there might have been one chapter that went to maybe 4 or 5 versions.
Yeah, that's actually really good because
Oh.
typically editing happens in rounds, and to be able to get it to somewhat complete at just 3 rounds is pretty good. So, all told, how many chapters were there?
So there's 11 chapters altogether. There's 7 keys, but 11 chapters, because we have
And
introduction and we talk about
Mhm.
freedom first. We talked about money first, and then there's sort of something at the end that sort of wraps it all
Wraps it all
together.
up, yes. So, how long all told did it take you to write the book?
The book did not take long to write. What took a long time was the editing process and the publishing process. So when I first wrote the book, which I probably finished in 6 months, or something like that, I would say, and I thought, we would publish right away. No, it didn't.
Never.
We're talking about it from the beginning to publishing took 3 years, which really shocked me how long this whole process took. And I had to really let it all go, because I wanted it out there. I felt it needed to get out fast. But because I did not self-publish, I didn't control that. I ended up hybrid publishing. The editing took a long time, much longer than I thought it would. She's very reflective. She's very detailed. The writing is excellent in the book. I'll say
Oh,
myself.
it's good writing. Yes.
Thank you. It's good writing, and that's because of Deborah. And, that took a long time. Then trying to get it published and trying to go the traditional way, which I tried to do and failed doing. And that was very disappointing, because I had a really good book proposal and even had some good contacts as well. But I didn't have what they call a big enough platform, which
Yeah.
basically means enough followers for publishers to think that I'll sell books. So it was very disappointing. I have not such a great feeling towards the publishing industry, because you put your heart and soul into these books. You feel like you have something really you want to share with people, and then they're like, well, you only have you don't have enough followers. So it's a little difficult, that. So I had to let go of the traditional publishing. And then the decision was, well, what should I do, into a hybrid publishing or into self-publishing? And I chose the hybrid publishing route, is what I did.
Well, tell us more about hybrid, because some people, I think most of us are aware of traditional and self-publishing. What is hybrid?
Yeah, I mean, the traditional basically is they will publish it. Ideally, they'll pay you money up front. They don't always do that though, but they could. And then they own your book, and you get royalties of somewhere I've heard around about 6% on average royalties from the sale of your book. Self-publishing, you own your book 100%, and and you do all the work. Okay, so hybrid publishing basically means that you pay a professional publishing company the same quality as a traditional publisher, but you pay them to publish your book. And that's basically the difference. And so they will do cover design, they will do typesetting, they will read the whole book and do a whole other edit as well, if needed. They will make sure that that book is as good as, one of the top 5 publishing companies. And that's the route I went. So that also took a while. But also I think I put some slowed it down a little bit, because as it's getting closer to, you start to get like, oh my God, I don't know if I'm ready, for publishing. It's such an emotional experience.
It's a mind game, isn't it?
It
With
is.
yourself. Now,
It
you've
is.
mentioned this is your first time to publish, and so hybrid probably felt very safe, like you were in the hands of professionals. If you had to do it over again, what would you pursue?
My next book, if there is one, I will self-publish
Mm.
because you control the timing of it. And now that I understand all the different parts that go into it more, and that you could really hire book cover, you could really hire typesetter, you could really hire even someone who knows, how to get it into Amazon and all that kind of stuff. And and it's much cheaper. I will say the hybrid publishing is very expensive. And so you need to have some money that you are willing to part with to do it that way. So yes, I would look into self-publishing next time.
And you said if you publish again, do you have
Yeah.
ideas for other books?
I do have another idea, but I also have to remind myself that I'm like full on right now. I'm full on like promoting this book now.
That's true.
I'll be at Barnes and Noble soon here, which is going to be great, and other things. I have She Rises, which is a live stream show I started where I interview women. So I have a lot of projects, and I run my business. I still run full-time my business. So
Yes.
another book at the moment is on the shelf, but I do have an idea for one.
Well, that's wonderful because I'm sure if it's anything as good as this first book, everyone will love it. So, what are you doing to promote your book right now?
Oh, so yeah, I mean, those are all the stages, isn't it? You
Mhm.
have to write it, which is the fun part. There's the editing part, the publishing part about, then there was the launching of it, okay? And I had hired, just to mention that too, publishers don't really promote your book, and even traditional publishers, by the way, do not promote your book. My brother just got a publishing deal, which is fantastic for his novel. I asked him today, what are they marketing anything? He says not at all. So you still as an author have to market your book, and create a launch plan. So I hired a fantastic woman, Patty Zorr, Zorr, to launch my book and do the early readers so that when the book actually came out, I had immediately, 25 or so reviews, and it bumped it up. I was able to get the number one best-selling on Amazon. So that's always the goal in different categories. So that has also kept momentum going, is having that. So what I'm doing now is I try to do a little bit of marketing each day. I've joined networking groups here where I live. I speak about my book when I'm with them. I've given out my book to several people too, so that they will review it. That's something else that I also work on there. I'm working to get into bookstores and do book talks. I tried advertising on Amazon and paying for Amazon ads, and I did not find the ROI worth it.
Mhm.
Uh, I might try
That's
it again.
interesting. That's good to know.
Yeah, I did not. So I've reached out in Instagram. There's a lot of people that reach out to me that influencers. I've worked with influencers as well in promoting my book. I'm now created this live stream show, which I quickly mentioned, which is called She Rises. And the purpose of the show is to interview other women entrepreneurs and to have them on my show. And so this is a bi-monthly show. And in the show, and it's live and it's going out to platforms. So I'm always also saying I'm Leslie Kuster, the author of Seven Keys to Seven Figures. That's a great way for me to continue to promote my book. And then the person that I'm interviewing has an opportunity for it to go live on their platform. So their people will learn about me and my book. So that's also what I'm doing. And I think that's a good way to do it because it's a fun way to do it and I'm enjoying
That's
it.
true. Yes, and really, these are all such great ways to promote a book. So it sounds like you've got a good thing going. And everyone who's watching, she actually reached out to me and sent me a copy of the book. And it is this month's feature book on the Business and Growth Book Club. So definitely get a copy. You're going to love it. And you've gotten to see her process, how she thinks as a writer. And I think it's really powerful. So not only did she approach it like a pro, the book is it's a good book. It's definitely worth the read. So thank you for joining us here and sharing your whole process behind the scenes.
You're so welcome. And thank you so much for having me here. And thank you so much for having my book be the featured book on the Amazon Business and Growth Book Club. Thank you so much. It
Oh,
shot up to number 2.
that's right. And so you got number one on launch and number two again. What was this a year later?
No, it's I published September 26th, so like 6 months later. So
Okay, great. Well,
yeah.
hopefully we can keep that book up near the top.